I just want to see that it actually comes on the screen here. I'm not seeing anything yet. I don't see anything yet. Don't go away until I get it. It says waiting for STMC nights. There we go.
We're on. So what do we introduce ourselves?
Oh, and then YouTube. I'm just waiting for the,
Okay.
hopefully the chat room to come on. Ah, there we
There we
go.
go. Okay.
Okay, well, hello. My name is Daryl Hall. I'm the Director of Admissions, and sitting beside me is...
Maria Cirillo. I'm the registrar here at St. Thomas More.
And I'd just like to add that if you have any questions about the actual documentation process at all, this is the lady that will help you on that part of it. Anything to do with the documentation process, Maria Cirillo is the one to contact, and of course her information's on the website for you to do so.
Absolutely.
If you had any questions about the actual selection criteria or selection process, I would be the person to contact. So that's just to set that out right now, and we're just sort of waiting to see questions that might be coming up. But seeing how I'll just sort of begin a little bit, they'll give you a little bit of information. Just with regard to the documents, one thing I've already noticed by looking at applications coming in, there's two key parts of it that I think are really important for your child to be aware of in particular. One, you should make sure that you try to get letters of reference for your child. So if they say that they're part of a soccer team or a dance group, or it could be music or piano or whatever, if they can get a letter of recommendation from an instructor or from a coach, that's a great help to their application. So I highly recommend adding those. Even if you've already put in documents, you can still add new documents along the way. I would encourage you to do that. And the other thing is the cover letter. I've noticed that some applications that are in right now have not submitted a cover letter, but that's actually a requirement. So when you look through the pages there and what you need to do, you'll see that there's a cover letter. That's to be written by the student applying. They should be telling us about their passions, their activities that they're in. They should be telling us about things that the report card won't tell us. That's what's really important. So anything inside or outside of school that maybe the report card doesn't really tell you that much about, that's what we'd really like to know about. This is a time to this is not a time for your son or daughter to be shy. It's a time to let themselves shine. Let them actually tell us what they're all about, what they hope for, the goals that they may have for the future, the type of programs they'd like to be involved in here at the school. Tell us as much about themselves as possible. That to me is just an important recommendation for anybody who's applying, and this applies to both grade 8 or any other application. Write us cover letters that actually tell us about you. That's really, really important for us. Okay? So that's just a couple of things. Is there anything else, Ms. Cirillo, that you, from your end, would like to see from them?
Well, the information that most of the questions that we always get is just in regards to, uploading documents and whatnot. We are always available in the office for any kind of issues that you may have in uploading documents, or I know sometimes it may be difficult to do it from home. We're more than willing to do it from here at the office. So just pick up the phone and give us a call, or drop it into the office, and we'll be more than happy to help in any way that we can.
Thank you. That's good.
Good, yeah.
I'll just ask a question here. And for those of you actually looking to ask questions, make sure you open up your YouTube link. So open up your session through YouTube, and then you look for the chat room, just in case you weren't sure about that. But I noticed somebody just said, what time do we open in the morning? Well, I guess if you mean what time do classes start, our classes normally start at 8:25. But if you ask, when does our school open? That's a different question. Our school is open usually by about 6:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
There's already somebody here, and we're letting in students, etc. In a COVID year, it's a little bit different, but certainly that's normally the case. And then if you didn't ask, but if you would ask me, what time does it close down? It doesn't. It just stays open. We're one of the few schools, actually, you'll find that students are in here not just even immediately after school, but it's not unusual to find groups of students still at the school for all kinds of different reasons. Could be athletics, could be for other things, but they are here 8, 9 o'clock at night. That's why we say it really is a second home, because they quite often spend more time here than they do at their own home.
Exactly.
But just so if you're wondering about timing, I hope that answers your question there. Somebody's asking about the test date for, we're not running a placement exam this year. No test. There's a silver lining to COVID. Your child doesn't have to write any tests. You know, that's pretty cool, I think. And probably a lot of your kids are probably going, yes, that's the school for me. One that I don't have to write the test in. That's why your cover letter and your other forms of documentation are so important.
Especially the report cards.
And your report cards, like, again, when make sure you give us all of the report cards. We want grade 6 and grade 7, samples from both. You should be able to get both from your school that you're presently in. And if I could just add one thing about documentation again, noticing the application form, which is the very first form that you fill out, a number of you are not filling all of that out. You need to fill in all of the fields there. Just make sure that you do that. And one little hint, at the very bottom left-hand corner, it says save for later. So let's just say you don't have all the information, but you put in some. That's fine, save for later. But if you go to the far right-hand corner, there's a submit button. Please make sure that once all of your information is there that you have to hit submit. Don't forget to do that, just as a little tip again. So I'm just looking at a few more questions here.
While you're looking at the questions,
letters of recommendation here saying that they've been sealed. Should I open it, attach it to an application? Yeah, I think that they're thinking probably in a non-COVID situation, but yes, I would definitely attach it through the application. Yes, I would open it and attach. What else have we got? How many applications do you receive? Well, it depends on the year, but I would say the low number is around 210 and the high number is in the 240s. So we're in that range. How many do we accept? We're accepting usually about 135 to 140 students. So hopefully that would answer your question there. Yes, do we send in the June grade 6 report card? Yes, that would be fine. That's very helpful. And the earliest one you got right now, you should have some sort of report for grade 7. It may just be a bunch of comments or whatever from the teachers, but that's fine. Whatever it is, however they do the report card, just to make sure that we can see it. It's a great help for us. I'm just trying to glance down here. When will we know if we're going to get accepted, if we've been accepted or not? Well, there's a process, so let me go through a little bit of the process. January 21st is your deadline for your application. All documentation must be in by that day. And it better be, because now our selection committee is looking at everything. And we will be making phone calls that next Tuesday, so that's January 26th. But not all calls be made on the 26th, so don't panic if you don't get a phone call on the 26th. You may get a phone call on the 27th or the 28th. So please wait out that process. Please do Mrs. Maria Cirillo one little favor. Don't on January 26th, you heard that somebody else got a phone call, you didn't, and you're phoning her, how about me? Because you're just going to inundate her with all kinds of calls. She can't answer that question for you at that particular moment in time. But what happens if you haven't had a phone call, say by January 28th or 29th? That means that your child has not been accepted in the first wave of acceptance, that first 135 to 140. But please, don't think the journey's over yet. Invariably what happens is, then we ask them to register. Some of those people will not register. I won't go into, for all different kinds of reasons, some of them simply won't. Then we go to second wave. So then we'll start making other phone calls now to other families to invite them. Some of them may still not say yes, and we'll go to a third wave. So if you don't make it on the first wave, please don't panic. There's still a chance for your child to get into the school. If you don't get that phone call in that first few days, though, you will have a letter that will come to your house that will say that unfortunately you've not yet been accepted, but do you wish to remain on the waiting list? Ms. Marie Searle, do you want to comment on that part of it?
Yep. Once I receive that letter that you want it to be kept on the waiting list will be kept. Your name will be kept on the waiting list and be active until a spot becomes available, and then we review the reapplications again, and another students will be selected to fill in that spot of that particular student. And like Mr. Hall said, admission goes on well sometimes into the summer. We've accepted students as late as, early September, even after school has started. So I always tell parents, once you get your foot in the door and you've got that application in, never give up, because the opportunity is always there. And I never discourage anybody from applying, because inevitably, sooner or later, it always seems that the phone call will come and you will get the student in the school. It's just a given. I've been doing this long enough to know that that's the procedure that we go through. And I talk to parents over and over. Like, it just seems, Mrs. Cirillo, what's the status? Mrs. Cirillo, what's the status? Just be patient. Just be patient. Just be patient. And sure enough, that parent that I talked to 3, 4, 5, 6 times from the time that we started the admission process, right until school starts, will somehow get in. So my message there is just, never give up, because the opportunity is always there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted clarification of the January 21st deadline. Is that the deadline for fall 2021? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's the deadline and this is the deadline for grade 8s. If by chance you're a parent of a grade 9 to 12 applying right now, your deadline's different. What we're looking for is a March 4th deadline. And you would get a call, or perhaps even an interview situation sometime between the middle of March to about early April.
Yeah.
So that's just for anybody that's on there, if it's for grade 9 to 12, that's looking to apply to the school. Somebody's just asking, how many places are there usually in grade 9 to 12? Again, that varies according to the year. What we have to, why we say March 4th, get everything in by March 4th, is that then we have our re-registration, and now we know how many of our students are coming back. Now, we usually have most of them come back, but there's always going to be some. They might be moving out of province for whatever reasons. We always lose some. So the question is, how many? It varies every year, so it's hard for me to really give you a number. But we've taken in anywhere, some years we're only taking 5 or 6 people, other years we might be taking in 10 or 12 into the school. But we usually don't take large numbers. It's not like we're taking in 20 or 30 people into our school between grade 9 to 12. There would be the odd time where that could maybe happen. It might be up to 20, but that would be rare. I would say most years you're probably looking at around 10, like that area for grade 9 to 12. So I'm just trying to double check questions. Oh, somebody said, if they click submit instead of save for later, can we still add to the application? Yes.
You can. Yes.
You can always resubmit. It's one of those really fun buttons. You just keep pressing it. You can keep adding stuff and keep pressing. So it keeps working round the clock. It's like an Energizer button. It just keeps working. So not a problem. I think I'm just trying to double check. I'm just reading this, a longer question. Oh, if you asked our reference to email STMC directly, how can we confirm if they are received? Well, the only thing that we've received so far is stuff that's come through the application process through those forms that we've done. So if it hasn't been submitted through there,
they can always email it to us as well.
What I would suggest is go back to that person and ask them to email it directly to Mrs. Cirillo.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that would be the best thing for them to do. Email it directly to her.
And we'll upload it directly into the student's application so that Mr. Hall and the committee will have that document on file when it comes to them selecting. So, yeah. Any documentation that you can upload, feel free to email it to myself, Maria Cirillo at stmc.bc.ca, and we'll upload it directly into the student's application.
Is there almost a guarantee that a sibling will get in? This gives me a chance to go over maybe selection criteria a little bit. Yes, as long as they're not an axe murderer or anything like that. First part of our selection, we look at siblings, we look at children of alumni, and And we look at our sort of students from our 3 feeder schools and 2 feeder parishes. So that's the first sort of grouping that we look at. Okay? And that's Catholic students from those feeder schools. Then we look at Catholic students from other Catholic elementary schools. And the last group is we look at other students from other faith-based schools or from public schools. They're in the sort of third category. Now, you might say, oh, if I'm in that third category, I have no hope. That's not true. Every year we have students in that third category that come to our school. Because we always reserve a certain number of seats just for that category. We don't want people applying in that category having no hope to get into our school. There's always some students out there that are going to be great assets to our school that we're looking for, that fill a real niche with our school that we want. And they're going to come from that third group. So that's the order, how it goes, but we have students from every group every year that attend the school. So I hope that answers that question. How do you know that STM has received the Form B letters from teachers? All I can tell you right now, I've looked at a number of applications, and that Form B letter's been with a number of them. So I think a number of teachers are definitely completing that so far.
Yeah, they directly email them or fax them to me directly. And again, we download them and we upload them into the students' registration. And I received quite a few. So I'm rest assured that the grade 7 teachers are doing their job and they are sending those letters, those Form Bs to us.
Great question here in a different area, which is about the enriched math exam. There's also one for French as well. Both of them will be run sometime in May or early June. That will be happening. That COVID or not COVID, those particular situations will be happening. Mm-hmm. If you think your son or daughter is capable of moving to grade 9 math and not being in grade 8 math, then you will just simply have your son or daughter sign up for that enrichment thing. It will be advertised, you'll be informed. So once you're a registered person in our school for the next year, everybody will be contacted if they wish to actually have their son or daughter write that particular test. But that will be middle of May to early June. That will be the time frame. We don't know, we haven't set the exact date yet. It'll be the same thing for anybody that comes from a French immersion school that might want to go into French 10, 11, or 12, for example. We'll also have a test for you in that same time frame. So I hope that answers those. Does the admission criteria apply to grade 9 applications as well? Yes and no. It's a little bit more flexible, let me say. What I'm trying to get at here is, now we're looking at, the number 1 criteria for grade 9 to 12. Are you a good fit with our school, with our mission, our values, with what the night stuff? Are you a good fit? That's actually the number 1 criteria for 9 to 12. In grade 8, it's a little bit more selective process there, but in grade 9 to 12, it's a little bit more open. Hope that answers that. How many kids from feeder are guaranteed placements? Well, that's a pretty good question, because as a general rule, most of the kids from feeder schools that wish to come here will be able to come here, again, as long as they're in good standing with their school that they're coming from, as long as they complete all the documentation process. You have to do that. Doesn't matter if you're a feeder, if you're a sibling, child of alumni. If you don't complete the documentation process, I'm sorry, your application will not be considered. So you must go through and do all the things that everybody else does. How many? Well, I would say that each school has a slightly different allotment in place, so it's not like one allotment for each school. But I would just say over the years, any student from those feeder schools that's a Catholic student at those feeder schools that has their priest endorsement letter, etc., with them, and that they're in good standing with their grade 7 school, they get into the school. There really hasn't been situations where that hasn't been the case, so I wouldn't really worry too much about that number aspect of it. Okay? That's from the feeder schools themselves, okay? And that applies only to them. Sorry, I'm just, there's some other questions that just flashed up here. In the first round, they're simply asking, like, if you're a student from the third group that I was talking about, like non-Catholic schools, you're a non-Catholic student, is it likely you'd be in the first wave? unless you're a sibling or child of an alumnus, I would say chances aren't great that you would be in that first wave acceptance, because we go through the siblings, the alumni, the feeder school, feeder parishes, and students from other Catholic elementaries first. But we always have students from that third category. But they may not be in that first wave of admission. How much are we looking at grades, personality, extracurricular activities? Yeah, we look at it all. No percentage breakdown, though. You're asking for a percentage breakdown. We'll give it to you. We're looking at that whole kid. We're looking at what they have to offer here to our school. How good of a fit they are, again, with the school. So to give a percentage, I really couldn't do that for you. I'm sorry. Is there bus transportation provided by our high school? Sorry, we do not. If you're going to bus here, you're going to have to take the regular public transport and SkyTrain. We don't provide it.
But the transit is quite easy.
Do the students from the 3 feeder schools need a letter from the parish priest? They should have that, yes. Yes, they should. I'm just trying to look and see if there's anything I missed here, because other things have been added. Well, I think there's still this question about, well, how many grade 8 classes? 5. 5 grade 8 classes. And again, 5 grade 8 classes, about 135 to 140 students divided between those 5 classes. What else have we got here? Somebody's more asking for school drop-off. No, we don't have buses. So I'm just going to... Yeah, I haven't seen anything really new in there. Although somebody was asking more about, if we're not having the placement exam, how are we deciding? Well, we've always decided on the whole child anyhow. We always took the report cards, we took the cover letter, we take the reference letters, we take the Form B letters that we get from the teachers, etc. And we use that as our combination of things to make decisions. The placement exam was just one more category. But we're fine if we don't have it this year, so we're okay with it. We're not going to start running one because we're not bringing in all kinds of students into the school, so it's not going to happen. Not in COVID year.
I wonder if I maybe jump in and
Sure,
just
jump in.
Talk about some of the questions that we get in the office is about tuition fees. So the tuition fees this year have gone up just slightly, and they are $7,400 for the year, which works out $740 a month. The tuition goes from July 1st, it's a 10-month period, July 1st to April 1st, and it can be paid full sum, or it can be paid bi-monthly. Additional to the tuition fees, we also have some grade fees, and the breakthrough for the grade 8s is $575, and it's $175 for registration fee, $175 for technology fee, and $225 is for activity fee, which equals to $575. So that's payable upon once you get accepted and you're doing all the finances. That's part of the fees that need to be paid. The $575 along with the tuition of $740 a month.
Can I add to that,
Sure.
though? It's really important for you to know that we also have a very
Bursary?
expansive bursary program
Yes,
at
we
the
do,
school.
yeah.
We actually, it's in the range of about $350,000 plus, between about $350 to $370,000 or $80,000 that is set aside to be able to aid families to come to our school. We don't want you making a decision saying, oh, I'm not going to apply because we can't afford it.
Yes.
Once you're accepted, you can apply for bursary to our school. And there's a process that you go through with regard to that, but you can apply for bursary, and we have a number of families that are on bursary here at our school, so we don't want you deciding, oh, we can't come to St. Thomas More because we can't afford that. We've got all kinds of students that are here that are on a bursary program. So just remember that. We also have an Edmund Rice Scholarship Program of $500 each, 5 of them, that your son or daughter can apply for as well. So that gives you a little bit of hopefully help. Again, please do not decide, oh, it's too expensive, we can't do it. Yes, you can. You can apply for bursary. We've got lots of students in our school that are on bursary here at the school. So please don't use that as a decision not to make, or to make a decision not to come to the school. Oh, plus remember also, you do get that tax receipt in the end, which is over 40% back to you in the end. So I'm just trying to see if there's any more questions that have popped up here. How many, oh yeah, grade 8, yeah, we already did the classes. So I think, how many kids apply from the feeder schools? Rough number. What I can tell you is this. I'll do it this way. If you took the number of siblings, number of children of alumni, and the number from the feeder schools and feeder parishes, I would say that number is going to vary each year, but it's going to be somewhere in the range of about 80 to about 105 of our positions. So probably between 80 to about 100 positions, usually from feeder schools, feeder parishes, siblings, children of alumni. That leaves another, depending on the numbers, if we take 140, that would leave somewhere about 35 to 40 other positions available in grade 8. Can we, is the tuition, can you get a tax receipt for it? Yes, you can. Again, I'll repeat that again. You can get a tax receipt for it. Again, somebody's asking, some people come in later. I've answered this question, but never hurts to answer it a second time, I think. Again, how many applications? Usually low ends around 210, high ends around 240. Students applying for grade 8. Yeah, letters of reference are separate from the Form B. Form B is one thing you could get from a teacher, maybe say a grade 7 teacher, but if you can get other coaches or instructors or moderators of other activities that your child's involved in, maybe your child, for example, is an altar server at the church. Maybe they're involved with their church youth group. Maybe they're involved with the Bible study there. Why not get one of the moderators or leaders to write something about the child, do a reference letter on them? So yes, reference letters are over and above the Form B. And you really should include them if it's at all possible to be able to get them on behalf of your child. Okay, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear about that. It says that feeder schools don't require a letter from the parish priest. Yeah, they don't require an official letter, but there should be some indication somewhere that they're actually a member of that church. There's got to be something that indicates that to us. That's what I was trying to get at. It shouldn't just be left blank. Okay? So make sure something is done with regard to that. Usually,
usually we get a list from the pastor, from Father Nichols, from OLM, St. Francis de Sales, and St. Michael's.
Yeah.
And the priest actually sends us a letter with all the students' names that are registered to the parish. So basically, when it comes up to, if you don't have that endorsement form filled out by the priest, because, if there's 20 kids coming from OLM, Father Nichols doesn't have to sign 20 endorsement forms. He'll just give me a list of all the students that are registered.
That's what.
And then Mr. Hall and the committee that's doing the review for the admission will cross-check to make sure that they are registered, and there's no requirement to have that endorsement form. And that applies to all the OLM, as Our Lady of Mercy, St. Francis de Sales, and St. Michael's. So they send it to me directly, and then I pass it on to you, and then you do with it what you always do.
Thanks for reminding me of that. That's why we have Maria and not just me. Because you got to have her, because it's just me, we're all in trouble. But with her,
I
everything's
couldn't do this without you, Daryl. Sorry.
I know. We're a team. That's why she makes up for my little bit here.
We've been a team.
This is a good question here. If you are not from a Catholic faith-based home and you cannot provide any faith docs, is that okay? Yes. I mean, if you're from, it depends. You could be from a different faith. Well, what I would suggest, if you're from a different faith, can you not get a letter of faith endorsement from whoever your imam is, or whoever it might be?
Yeah.
For whatever faith background you might be, you could certainly get something from them and attach it into the documentation. But do you have to? Well, no. You might be a family that doesn't have any faith background. Well, obviously, you're going to leave that form blank because you have nothing to add in there, and that's perfectly fine. I hope that answers that.
Yeah.
How many Form B do you advise good to have in an application? If you can get more than one, that's great, but we would like to see one would be good. Usually one from their present grade 7 teacher, that would be awesome. But if they, again, get a letter of reference maybe from a grade 6 or grade 5 teacher that taught them as well, if you can. As I said, moderators.
Yeah.
Anybody outside, if your child's involved in dance or something like that, get the dance instructor to write a letter of recommendation on their behalf as well.
But that Form B, Daryl, is just one
For
for
grade
students,
7?
for grade 7s.
Only?
Just only for grade 7s.
Yeah, so the one.
Yeah, just the one.
Okay. That's why she deals with all the documentation. We're in a public school now, but they are Catholic and they're from a feeder parish. If you're from a feeder parish, then you are in category 1. You're asking which category you're in. You belong to category 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I hope that answers that. I don't understand this quite. If you're not Catholic, do you have to send a letter from the church?
I think you just answered that question.
I think it's like if you're from a different faith-based group, it'd be good to get from your own faith-based leader, whoever it is, that maybe they could write a letter of endorsement on their behalf. Is the absence of a reference letter a significant disadvantage? It's kind of close to the deadline now. Well, I would say do your best to try to get reference letters in. Usually, like at our school, our students sometimes, most of them are really good about it, but sometimes they'll come to us literally on the last day of, and they're asking us to write one, and we do. And we always get it done. So I hope that you would run into teachers who would be exactly the same. So yes, I would still recommend trying to get it in, if you can get one. It's not a death sentence if you don't have it. I'm just saying that it's good to have them. The more information, the better. That's all we're trying to say with that.
Yeah. Do they send the forms directly to you, Form B? Yes, they do.
So the Form B is sent directly to
me.
Mrs. Cirillo, who's the registrar of the school.
You drop it off to the grade 7 teacher, and right below the form it says, please email or fax back to Mrs. Cirillo, and it has my email and my fax number, and you just email it directly back to me.
Again,
And we'll upload it into the student's registration or application.
Again, Mrs. Cirillo, she handles all the, in case you come in later, she handles all the documentation side of things, and any questions or help you need there, please see Mrs. Cirillo.
I'm available.
If you have questions about the selection criteria or the selection process, then I'm the person to contact. And please contact me only by email. Please don't go for a phone message. Okay, but please only do it by email.
Yeah.
What's the admission criteria for those who aren't part of that 80 to 105 that might come into the school? What type of fit are you again? We look at everything, so it's not one particular thing that we're looking for. We always try to look at the whole student. What do they have to offer? So I don't know if I could be any more specific really with regard to that. You uploaded okay, if they got a Form B from the teacher and they uploaded it themselves into the application form, that would still be okay? Yes, no?
It's fine.
I think it works, right?
It works fine, yeah.
Yeah. It still works, so
It still
whoever
works,
asked
not
that
a problem.
question, it still
It
works.
still works. Yeah. As long as it's in there as a part of the documentation.
What is the email? The email for both of us is on the website, but it's maria.cirillo@stmc.bc.ca. That's maria.cirillo. But if you want to know how to spell her name, look at the website. But it's right there on the website. You'll find it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's d.hall@stmc.bc.ca. Okay, we'll just,
Any questions?
yes, again, I have another question about submission. If you've already submitted, you could still add more documents and submit again. So I asked that before, but again, if somebody new's come in, and yes, you could still add more documentation, even if you've already submitted. You can go back in, add more documents, and submit again. Who do you address the cover letter to? You could just say to the selection committee, is fine. Selection committee, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and we'll just be here. I'm just going to say 2 more minutes. We'll see if anything more comes, and then we're going to call it a night. And so if you had any more questions, again, you could contact whoever it makes best sense to contact. Again, if you're after about selection criteria, the selection committee, that's me. If you're after about the documentation, Mrs. Cirillo.
And I'm in the office from 8 to 4 every day. By email, by phone. I'm always available to help in any way that I can. Just feel free to just call out and I'll be there. to help
If you're
out.
lucky, she'll bake you something.
Oh, no, Mr. Hall. No.
Okay, yeah, I think...
Okay.
Well, we're getting a number of thank yous here. Well, we thank you for actually
Yeah.
considering St. Thomas More as a possible destination for your son or daughter. We hope that if that's what you really want, we really hope that that comes true for you, that that dream is realized. And as Mrs. Cirillo said earlier, don't give up on the process. It is a process. It does take
Absolutely.
some time. If you really want to get your son or daughter into this school, just hang on there. If you don't get admitted right away, hang in that waiting list, and hopefully your dream will be realized. We hope that you will become a St. Thomas More Knight in the end, and become part of our family, part of our community, become a second home, a home away from home. That's St.
Exactly.
Thomas More,
Exactly.
and we hope you become part of our community.
That's right.
So thanks very much, and good night.
Ciao. That's it. We're out. Whew.
Yeah, we'll try to make it a little bit fun and that we see. Oh,
Still on.
oh.
You go what?
That's okay. Keep watching.